Welcome back to FlyEaglesFly News, where every twist and turn of the season comes alive for Eagles fans. Today, we have to confront a game that stung deep, one that leaves you staring at the ceiling, replaying every moment and asking all the what-ifs. Watching your team fall short is never easy, especially when you know the roster had the talent to go far. The San Francisco 49ers came in, executed their plan with precision, and showed exactly how to neutralize one of the league's most explosive offenses. They didn't overcomplicate things. They stayed disciplined, applied consistent pressure, and maintained control long enough to let the Eagles' attack sputter. Credit where it is due, they played smart, and that discipline carried them forward while we are left analyzing what went wrong. The story starts with the players, and it's impossible to ignore the impact of leadership or the lack thereof. A.J. Brown's performance, or perhaps more accurately his response afterward, became a glaring talking point. Leadership isn't measured only when games are won, it is tested in moments of adversity. 3 dropped passes, visible frustration on the sideline, and public disagreements with the coaching staff created a narrative that overshadowed everything else on the field. Contrast that with players like Devontae Smith, who also struggled but faced the media with professionalism, or Nate Sirianni, who handled a rough day on the sidelines without deflection. Leadership is about accountability. It's about staying present, confronting the issues head-on, and guiding the team even when the outcome is unfavorable. AJ's absence in that moment highlighted a gap, one that fans and teammates alike could not ignore. On the field, the breakdown went beyond individual mistakes. Coaching decisions shaped the narrative as much as the players themselves. Following that sideline altercation, AJ's involvement in the offense visibly declined. Targets were reduced, plays shifted, and the psychological impact was immediate. It's not an excuse, it's an observable effect. When one of your top weapons is subtly sidelined without a formal benching, the rhythm of the offense suffers. By the time opportunities returned, timing was off, confidence shaken, and the big plays that normally define the Eagles' attack never materialized. The handling of this situation by the coaching staff was a clear misstep, and it underlined the fragile balance between discipline and performance management in high-pressure environments. Defensively, there were moments of excellence, but execution was inconsistent. Reed Blankenship, a player brimming with potential, appeared overwhelmed at times, most notably on the trick play that led to a wide-open touchdown. Watching Christian McCaffrey break free while 3 defenders converged elsewhere was frustrating, a textbook example of missed assignments at the most critical moments. Consistency and leadership on defense is non-negotiable. And while some players, like Quan Mitchell, managed to salvage their impact with late-game plays, the overall defensive unit could not compensate for lapses that allowed big gains. The season exposed where support systems need reinforcement, and where communication breakdowns can be costly in high-stakes situations. The offensive line struggled under the weight of both injuries and lapses in execution. While Landon and others spoke about physical setbacks, the broader picture included penalties, missed blocks, and disruptive protection schemes. Success in football starts in the trenches, and when the foundation falters, even elite quarterbacks and skilled players cannot maintain momentum. Predictable play calling compounded the challenges. Early drives showed promise, but the offense quickly fell into repetitive patterns, runs up the middle, cold halves, and stalled drives that offered little room for adjustment against playoff-caliber opponents. Such predictability is exploited relentlessly. The Eagles showed glimpses of their potential but never sustained the level of execution required to compete consistently in these moments. Individual talent sometimes shone through, but it was underutilized. Dallas Goedert, quietly emerging as a reliable playmaker, demonstrated the ability to consistently make contested catches and contribute when the spotlight was on. Yet, the offensive schemes rarely centered around him in a way that maximized his strengths. This underutilization highlights the ongoing struggle between recognizing talent and translating it into actionable game plans. When talent is present but not fully leveraged, even the most promising roster falls short. And this was evident throughout the game and in many ways, the season. The misalignment between player ability and strategic execution was one of the central frustrations for fans and analysts alike. Special teams also added layers of uncertainty. Jake Elliott's inconsistencies were magnified in a game where every point mattered. High-pressure situations exposed mental lapses that rippled across the roster, affecting confidence and momentum. Reliability in kicking is foundational. When that stability is absent, The impact is felt in every phase of the game this season. Those inconsistencies highlighted the necessity of accountability, evaluation, and readiness in every role. In tight games, the margin for error is slim, and special teams cannot be overlooked in the broader conversation about why victory slipped away. Ultimately, coaching decisions define the trajectory of this matchup. Kevin Patullo and Nick Sirianni faced criticism for how the offense was managed, in-game adjustments, and player confidence. Patterns repeated, promising starts dissolved into predictable, stagnant periods where adjustments lagged behind the unfolding circumstances on the field. Familiarity within the coaching staff sometimes overshadowed innovation, leaving opportunities on the table, even when the roster provided clear paths to exploit. The execution of strategy often failed to capitalize on the team's full potential, while flashes of excellence existed. They were insufficient to overcome systemic issues that span the entire roster and staff. Despite the frustrations, individual moments of brilliance were present. Defensive standouts fought valiantly, younger players showed potential, and some veterans delivered when it mattered most. However, flashes alone do not define a season. Championships are won through preparation, execution, and consistent decision-making across every tier. From the players to the coordinators to the head coach, the Eagles had the pieces, but they were misaligned at critical junctures. The season serves as a lesson in how talent, without cohesion and disciplined guidance, can fall short when stakes are highest. Looking forward, reflection and accountability are essential. No single player, coach, or game defines a season of promise and disappointment. A.J. Brown's drops, Devontae Smith's inconsistency, offensive line struggles, and coaching missteps all intersected to create a scenario where championship aspiration were derailed. Moving forward requires understanding these patterns and addressing the underlying causes. Football is a team sport, and even the most explosive offense cannot function in isolation. Cohesion, clarity, and trust on every play are vital, and coordinators must design strategies that leverage the strengths of their roster while anticipating challenges from opponents. Turning to the defense, there were still encouraging signs, even amid frustration. Players like Zach Bond, Jordan Davis, and Jalen Carter demonstrated glimpses of what this unit can become when communication is crisp and effort is consistent. Injuries and situational limitations expose vulnerabilities at times, yet the foundation of this defensive group remains one of the league's strongest. Reed Blankenship, despite occasional missteps, possesses the tools to develop into a game-changing presence if paired with proper support and guidance. The lesson here is that defense can dictate outcomes, but it requires coordination and anticipation at every level. Even a brilliant defensive scheme cannot compensate for errors elsewhere. Yet the potential for dominance is evident when execution aligns with strategy. Leadership, once again, must be emphasized. Teams succeed or fail not merely on talent, but on how leaders respond under pressure. A.J. Brown must recognize that being a captain is about facing adversity head-on, setting the tone when challenges arise, and demonstrating accountability. Leadership ripples through the roster. Young players take cues from veterans, and coaches establish culture by example. Professionalism is tested in high-stakes situations, not comfort zones. The inconsistency in leadership has been a subtle but recurring theme throughout the season, and resolving it could transform the team's dynamic as effectively as any roster change or play design adjustment. Personnel decisions and coaching structures were also under the microscope. Kevin Patullo and Nick Sirianni's reliance on internal promotion and familiarity brought some benefits, but ultimately revealed limitations in high-pressure environments. Playoff-level competition exposes weaknesses in adaptability, decision-making, and in-game adjustments. Offensive coordinators must not only understand their playbook but also the psychology of their players, knowing when to push, when to adjust, and when to trust instincts. Infusing fresh perspectives and proven experience could bridge the gap between potential and execution, and the roster is equipped to take advantage of such improvements if the strategy is recalibrated. Accordingly, special teams continued to draw attention, particularly the kicking game. Jake Elliott's struggles demonstrated how a single position can influence the confidence and performance of the entire roster. When a kicker falters, pressure shifts, and execution across the team becomes more precarious. In games decided by slim margins, every point counts, and uncertainty in special teams can magnify errors elsewhere. Establishing accountability, promoting competition, and maintaining focus are crucial to ensuring that every role is reliable under pressure. In a team with championship aspiration. These factors are not optional, they are foundational, focusing on offensive skill players. It became clear that individual talent alone does not translate to wins. Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown are undeniably explosive, capable of game-changing plays, yet execution, timing, and chemistry remain the differentiating factors. Miscommunications, dropped passes, and mismatched play calling prevented the Eagles from sustaining drives and capitalizing on momentum. Dallas Goedert's emergence highlighted what could have been a player capable of consistent product, iron and clutch receptions, who deserved to be more central in the offensive strategy. The failure to fully leverage such talent underscores the importance of aligning strategic planning with the abilities of the roster. Without that alignment, even the most gifted players can underperform, leaving opportunities wasted. Adaptability emerged as another crucial theme. The team frequently showed flashes of dominance, only to follow with stretches of predictability and stalled drives against elite competition. Rigidity is costly. The Eagles repeatedly faced situations demanding in-game adjustments, but responses were either slow or miscalculated. Championship teams are defined by the ability to pivot mid-game, anticipate opponent counters, and maintain flexibility in strategy. A playbook alone is not enough. The application of knowledge, awareness, and timing is what differentiates contenders from the rest. This season illustrated that pattern with painful clarity, and addressing it will be critical moving forward. Injuries, though a factor, were not the primary cause of disappointment. While they complicated matchups, penalties, mental lapses, and execution failures played equal roles in key moments. Discipline is both a reflection of coaching and a prerequisite for sustained success. Repeated penalties, missed assignments, and moments of lost focus are indicators of systemic gaps in preparation, leadership, and accountability. When the team displayed cohesion, brilliance emerged, but inconsistency ultimately overshadowed potential. For a squad aspiring to compete for a championship, bridging that gap is non-negotiable. Looking at the broader context, the Eagles have an opportunity to learn from this season and recalibrate. The core components are present: an elite defense, skilled offensive players, emerging leaders, and veterans who bring experience. What remains is refining strategy, clarifying leadership responsibilities, and ensuring alignment between talent and execution. By addressing these areas, the team can evolve from a playoff contender into a legitimate Super Bowl threat. This season's lessons are stark reminders that talent alone is insufficient. Coaching, preparation, execution, and accountability are equally critical, and improvement in each area is essential to achieving consistent success. FlyEaglesFly News family, smash subscribe and hit like. Your support keeps the freshest Philadelphia Eagles updates flying in. Drop your take in the comments and let's talk birds. A late-night murmur has begun to ripple through league circles, and it's growing louder by the hour. According to sources close to both front offices, the Philadelphia Eagles and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are quietly exploring a surprise trade that could reshape the balance of power in the NFC. Nothing is signed, nothing is official, but the mere outline of the talks is enough to send executives, agents, and rival coaches scrambling for clarity. The speculation centers on a bold exchange of impact pieces rather than depth filler. Insiders suggest Philadelphia is eyeing an established offensive weapon from Tampa Bay, a move that would signal an all-in mindset and a desire to add immediate explosiveness. On the other side, the Buccaneers are believed to be intrigued by a package involving youthful talent and future assets, a strategic pivot that could blend competitiveness with long-term flexibility. What makes this rumor particularly electric is the philosophical contrast. The Eagles are viewed as a roster built to strike now, aggressive and calculated, while the Buccaneers may be weighing a subtle retool without declaring a rebuild. A deal between these two NFC contenders would not just be a transaction, it would be a statement, one that forces the rest of the conference to reassess matchups and expectations. Skeptics caution that talks like these often dissolve before sunrise, used as leverage or exploratory feelers. Yet multiple league voices insist the conversations are real, fluid, and evolving. Salary considerations, locker room dynamics, and scheme fits are all said to be under intense discussion behind closed doors. If this trade materializes, it could trigger a domino effect across the NFC, prompting reactive moves and renewed urgency elsewhere. For now, fans are left to read between the lines, refreshing feeds and debating possibilities. Whether this bombshell explodes into reality or fades into rumor, one thing is clear: the Eagles and Buccaneers have the conference on edge. And the silence before the decision feels anything but calm. That's a wrap from FlyEaglesFly News. If you want the fastest Eagles updates, subscribe, drop a like, and turn on the bell. Sound off in the comments. Let's talk birds.